Hey there, coin lovers. You ever look at your spare change and think, could this little coin be worth a fortune? I mean, who doesn't love finding a hidden gem in their wallet or piggy bank? Well, today's coin is a real showstopper, the 1960 Washington quarter. And trust me, if you've got one sitting around, you might just want to keep watching. Spoiler alert, it could be worth $2 million. Yeah, you heard that right. So, buckle up, because we're diving into the world of rare coins, and I'm about to blow your mind. Now, let's talk about this little beauty, the 1960 Washington quarter. For most of us, quarters are just quarters. You toss them in your change jar, maybe use them to buy a pack of gum or pay the meter. But what if I told you that the 1960 Washington quarter could potentially fetch a lot more than the 25 cents it's stamped with? Here's the deal. The 1960 quarter, like many coins, was minted in huge numbers. In fact, nearly 80 million were made that year. So you might be thinking, okay, I've probably got 1 million of these in my change jar. What's the big deal? Well, here's where it gets interesting. While most of those 1960 quarters are worth just a couple of bucks, some of them, and I mean some, have a value that can reach up to $2 million. You might be sitting there like, no way! How does that happen? It all comes down to something called mint errors. You see, some of the 1960 quarters had errors in their production, missing details, weird die cracks, or even misprints. These error coins are super rare, and when they pop up on the market, collectors go wild. We're talking about serious bidding wars. Now, let me share a quick story with you. A while back, I was at a local coin show, just casually browsing, when I overheard a guy talking about how he found a coin in his change jar, a 1960 Washington quarter. The way he was talking about it, you'd think it was just another normal quarter. I mean, come on, who hasn't grabbed a coin out of their pocket and thought it was just a regular one? But this guy's quarter? Well, after a quick inspection, it turned out to be one of those rare, error-prone 1960s. Fast forward, and he was looking at a six-figure offer. Talk about a lucky day, right? So here's the thing. It's not just about having a 1960 quarter. It's about having the right 1960 quarter. And that's where it gets fun. If you're looking to cash in, you've got to get your hands on a coin that's got something special, an error, a misprint, something that makes it stand out from the sea of regular old quarters. Now, how can you tell if your 1960 Washington quarter is one of these rare gems? First off, take a good look at the details. Check for any weird wear and tear, missing or doubled features, or any odd marks on the coin. Don't forget to check the mint mark too. Those little letters on the coin can make a big difference in value. Some of the best examples come from coins minted in Denver, D, or Philadelphia, P, though there are others out there. But hey, don't panic if you don't spot anything obvious. Even minor errors, like a tiny crack in the die, can add thousands to the coin's value. The key here is to really look at your coins closely and get them checked by a professional if you think there might be something unusual going on. So, in a nutshell, that little 1960 Washington quarter could be sitting on a potential goldmine. Who would have thought, right? And don't be fooled. There are so many coins out there with hidden value just waiting to be discovered. You just need to know where to look. But here's the thing. Whether you're hunting for rare quarters or just getting started with coin collecting, you're going to need tips and tricks to navigate this crazy world. And lucky for you, I've got you covered. If you want more insider knowledge on valuable coins and strategies for finding them, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't miss out on any of the coin treasure hunts we're going to take together. Plus, I've got some juicy content coming up that you won't want to miss. Trust me, your wallet will thank you. Let me hit you with a crazy fact. Did you know there's a 1961 Washington quarter that's worth a jaw-dropping $1.9 million? Yep, You heard that right. Almost $2 million for a coin that's more than 60 years old. And I bet you've got a few of these hiding in your change jar, right? Stick around, because in the next few minutes, we're going to dig into the value of this elusive 1961 Washington quarter, how it got so valuable, and how you might just find one yourself. It's time to break out those old coins, folks. This is one you don't want to miss. First off, let's talk about the 1961 Washington quarter itself. For the most part, 1961 quarters are pretty typical. They're made of 90% silver and 10% copper, which is standard for quarters produced from 1932 to 1964. You've probably seen one of these in your pocket, or maybe you've got one lying around in a drawer somewhere. But not all 1961 quarters are created equal. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The rare ones, the ones that could get you a cool $1.9 million, aren't just sitting in any old coin jar. They're the ones that were struck with a misplaced mint mark. That's right. Some of these quarters were supposed to be minted in Denver with a D mint mark, but instead, they ended up with a mint mark from San Francisco, S. And what does that mean? It means the coin became a rare error coin, something collectors are eager to get their hands on. These coins, which are known as the 1961 D/S Washington quarters, were struck with the wrong mint mark, a mistake that makes them super valuable. And by super valuable, I mean $1.9 million kind of valuable. Not a typo, that's real money. But of course, not every 1961 quarter is a winner. The ones with a mistaken mint mark are what's going to have collectors in a frenzy. So how can you spot one? Here's a little pro tip. The mint mark on these quarters isn't the only thing to look out for. You'll also want to check the overall quality of the coin. Is it in good condition? The more pristine the coin, the more you could sell it for. A mint-quality 1961 D/S Washington quarter could sell for over $100,000, while a less-than-perfect one might still fetch a few $1,000s. But if you've got one of those high-quality gems, get ready to make a serious profit. So how do I know all this? Well, I'll let you in on a little secret. A while back, I was going through my own coin collection, just casually flipping through some old quarters from the 1960s. You know, nothing too exciting. I was mostly looking for silver content to see if I could make a quick buck at a local coin shop. But then, I found something that caught my eye. It wasn't a 1961 D/S quarter, unfortunately, but it was a coin that was definitely worth more than I thought. I walked into the shop, showed it to the owner, and let's just say my jaw dropped when he gave me an offer. That experience taught me to always double-check my coins before I toss them in a jar. You never know when you might be sitting on a small fortune. All right, here's the deal. If you find yourself with a 1961 quarter, don't just toss it aside. Take a good look, and if you spot that elusive Denver over San Francisco mint mark, you might just be holding a $1.9 million coin in your hand. And even if it's not that rare, there are still plenty of other valuable coins out there just waiting to be discovered. Now, if you want more tips on how to spot valuable coins, uncover rare finds, and turn your change into cash, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm here to help you on your coin hunting journey, and I promise, the next time you find a quarter, you'll be a lot more excited about it. Ever heard the story of the quarter that went from your pocket change to a cool $1.7 million? Sounds like a wild dream, right? Well, it's actually real, and it's sitting right under your nose. Today, we're talking about the 1962 Washington quarter, not just any quarter, but one that could be worth a fortune. You won't believe the twist this simple coin took to become one of the most valuable pieces of U.S. currency. Stick around. I'll explain how a coin worth 25 cents could end up with a price tag in the millions. And hey, if you're already dreaming of your next $1 million coin find, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because this channel is all about helping you cash in on rare finds. The 1962 Washington quarter might look like your everyday change until you get up close and personal. So what makes it so special? Well, the 1962 quarter wasn't just minted like the others. There's a small group of them that were struck with a major minting error, and it's these specific coins that are worth the big bucks. Now, before we dive into the details, let me take you back to a story. A few years ago, I was sorting through some old coins I had stashed away in a shoebox. I know, classic mistake. I found a 1962 quarter sitting there, probably from some pocket change I picked up at a diner. At first, I didn't even give it a second glance. I almost tossed it aside like it was just another coin, but something told me to hold on to it. Maybe it was the way it caught the light, or maybe I just had one of those gut feelings, and I'm so glad I did. Turns out, that little quarter could have been worth thousands. It's like a treasure hunt right in your own home. So, why are some 1962 Washington quarters worth so much? Let's talk about the errors that make them so valuable. The key here is the double die error. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin has a double image. So, instead of a crisp, clean design, you will see some doubled letters or numbers, like the word Liberty or In God We Trust. When that happens, the coin becomes a rare find. Collectors go crazy for coins with these kinds of errors, and the rarer the error, the higher the price tag. But wait, here's the kicker. Some of these coins, especially the ones in mint condition, have been sold for as much as $1.7 million at auction. Yes, you heard that right. That's not a typo. One lucky collector walked away with a quarter worth more than most people's entire houses. You can imagine the look on their face when they realized they were sitting on a gold mine of coins. Or should I say, silver mine? Now, let's talk about how you can spot a potential 1962 Washington quarter worth thousands. The first thing you'll want to do is check for the double die error. This is usually found in the lettering, but sometimes even the details of Washington's hair can have the double impression. Also, look for any unusual wear and tear. These coins, especially the rare ones, tend to be in mint or near mint condition. The better condition it's in, the more you're looking at. Also, don't just rely on your eyes. If you really want to know if your 1962 Washington quarter is worth a fortune, consider getting it professionally graded. There are companies out there that will assess the condition and authenticity of your coins and give them a grade. The higher the grade, the more money you can expect to make when you sell it.so. There you have it. A simple 1962 Washington quarter could make you a millionaire if you know what to look for. And remember, not all quarters are created equal. The ones with minting errors are the ones that'll make your wallet explode with joy. So, you've probably got a few coins laying around the house, right? Some might be buried in your couch cushions or tucked away in a dusty drawer, and you're thinking, yeah, they're just a bunch of old change. Probably worth nothing. But what if I told you that one particular coin from 1963 could be worth over $1 million today? Yup, you heard me right. A single 1963 Washington quarter dollar could be worth up to $1.50 million. I know what you're thinking. I must be hearing things. But trust me, it's true. So, if you've got one of these coins hidden somewhere, maybe in your piggy bank, your grandma's old coin jar, or just mixed in with some other coins, stick around because we're about to break it down for you. First off, let's get the basics out of the way. The 1963 Washington quarter dollar is pretty common in circulation. You probably see them all the time, unless, of course, you're one of those people who just throw their change into a jar and forget about it. If that's you, no judgment, I'm guilty too. But here's the thing. Not all 1963 Washington quarters are created equal. Some are worth next to nothing, while others can fetch a small fortune. So, What makes a 1963 Washington quarter special? It's all about the condition and whether it's a rare variety. See, most 1963 quarters are just your run-of-the-mill, average coins. They were mass-produced, and unless you happen to have one that's in mint condition or has an error, like a double die or something wacky, then it's not going to be worth much. But here's where things get interesting. Some 1963 quarters were accidentally made with major errors. This includes coins with unusual minting mistakes, which can make them worth an insane amount of money. For example, if you find a 1963 quarter that's been misstruck, you could be looking at something worth over $1.5 million. I know, it's crazy. Imagine stumbling across one of these in a jar of old coins you've been ignoring for years. You could go from meh to millionaire overnight. Now, before you go running off to your coin jar to check, let's talk about how to spot these rare coins. First, you'll want to check for any doubling on the lettering or date on the coin. This is a sign of a double die, which happens during the minting process when the die doesn't align properly. It's subtle, but if you look closely, you might spot it. Another thing to watch for is a coin that looks super shiny or has details that appear almost too crisp. A 1963 quarter in mint state, meaning it's basically flawless, can be worth significantly more than one that's been worn down by years of use. That's why condition matters so much. And if you're still wondering how this can really hit a $1.5 million price tag, the secret lies in the combination of rarity, the condition of the coin, and a collector's demand for that specific error. There are only a few of these error coins in existence, so if you've got one, you've got yourself a golden ticket to some serious cash. Imagine showing up at a coin auction with a 1963 Washington quarter in your pocket and walking away with a check for $1 million. That's like finding out your old lunchbox is actually worth more than your car. It's insane. I'll be honest. I once found a coin in my own collection that I thought was just a regular old quarter. I tossed it in a jar along with all the other change, completely ignoring it for months. One day, a friend of mine, who's a serious coin collector, came over and just about had a heart attack when he saw it. Turns out, it was a rare 1950s quarter with a mint error, and it was worth hundreds of dollars. I was like, wait, what? I nearly fell off my chair. The moral of the story? Don't ignore your change. That boring coin could be your ticket to a small fortune. So, whether you're scouring your old change jar, hitting up coin shops, or just browsing your local flea market, always remember that coins from the 1960s, like that 1963 Washington quarter, might be hiding a hidden treasure worth a lot more than you think. I mean, $1.5 million for a single quarter? That's not just a win. That's life-changing. Before you go digging through your drawers, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up if you found this video helpful. We've got plenty more tips on valuable coins, how to spot them, and even how to sell them for top dollar. Don't miss out on the chance to learn how to turn your loose change into serious cash. Stay tuned for more. And who knows? The next coin you find could be your ticket to the big time. 1964 Washington quarter dollar floating around. You might want to double-check that pocket change. Why? Because that quarter could be worth up to $1.3 million. Yes, you heard that right. $1.3 million. Now, I know what you're thinking. How in the world does a 1964 quarter turn into $1 million coin? Stick around because we're about to dive into the crazy world of rare coins, and trust me, it's going to be a lot more fun than you'd expect. You're probably familiar with the Washington quarter, right? It's got that classic design, George Washington's face on the front, with an eagle on the back. But did you know that 1964 is a special year for these quarters? Not because of some big historical event or celebration, but because a small batch of them were minted with a pretty rare mistake. And by small, I mean really small. Here's the deal. The standard 1964 Washington quarters were supposed to be made with 90% silver and 10% copper, which is typical for the time. But, in some rare cases, a small number of these coins were accidentally minted with a higher percentage of silver, about 99% silver. This tiny difference made them ultra-rare, and as you can probably guess, ultra-rare coins tend to be worth a whole lot more than your average change. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Okay, so I have a 1964 quarter in my jar of loose change. How can I tell if it's one of these $1,000,000 ones? Great question. First off, if your coin doesn't look like it's made of pure silver, and it has that classic silver gray appearance of most quarters, it's probably just a standard 1964 Washington quarter, which is worth, well, about $5 to $6 if you're lucky. But if it looks shinier, almost like a mirror finish, or has a different tint, it could be one of the rare high silver versions. Take it to a coin appraiser to be sure. Let me tell you a little story from my own coin hunting adventures. A couple of years ago, I was digging through a box of old change that I'd been collecting from random places, like my grandma's house, a flea market, and even a few random trips to the grocery store. I figured, hey, maybe there's something valuable in here, you never know. So, I went through a pile of quarters, and wouldn't you know it, I found a 1964 Washington quarter that looked a little shinier than the others. I thought, this could be something. I didn't think it was worth $1,000,000, but it definitely piqued my interest. Turns out, it was just a regular one. Not a $1.3 million coin, but hey, it was still worth more than what I paid for the soda I grabbed that day. Moral of the story: you never know until you check. But here's the thing, folks, even if you don't have that $1,000,000 1964 quarter, you could still have other rare coins in your collection worth a lot more than you think. This is why I always tell people to keep an eye out for anything out of the ordinary, especially with coins from the 1960s and earlier. Coins with errors, or even slight misprints, can fetch a pretty penny. So always check your change. Seriously. And if you're thinking, but how do I even get started with this whole coin collecting thing? Don't worry. It's easier than you think, and I've got plenty more tips coming your way in future videos. From how to spot rare coins to strategies for flipping them for a profit, I've got you covered. So, to wrap up, if you've got a 1964 Washington quarter, take a moment to check its condition. If it's one of the rare high silver versions, you could be sitting on a serious fortune, $1.3 million to be exact. Even if it's not worth that much, who knows? You might have other valuable coins hiding in that jar of change. And trust me, I've been there. It's worth the effort to find out. Do you ever find yourself flipping through old coins and thinking, what if this one is worth $1,000,000? Well, today we might just make the day happen for you. I'm talking about the 1965 Washington $quarter coin, which, believe it or not, could be worth up to a cool $1,000,000. Yes, you heard me right, $1,000,000. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. A quarter? Come on, that's just pocket change. But trust me, there's more to this shiny little coin than meets the eye. Stick around, because I'm going to break it all down for you and share how you can spot a quarter worth of fortune. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Let's dive into the nitty-gritty. So, why is this particular 1965 Washington quarter so special? You see, in 1965, the U.S. Mint made a pretty big mistake. A mistake that's now making people a lot of money. In case you didn't know, 1965 was a big year for change in the coin world. The U.S. government switched up the metal composition of its quarters, moving from 90% silver to a much cheaper mix of copper and nickel. But in the middle of all this, some very rare 1965 quarters slipped through the cracks. A small number were accidentally struck using silver blanks instead of the new copper-nickel ones. These silver error quarters are the ones that can fetch you up to $1 million on a good day. Now, you might be asking, how do I spot one of these silver era quarters? Well, it's actually pretty easy once you know what to look for. First, check the weight. A standard 1965 quarter should weigh about 5.67 grams, but a silver one is slightly heavier, around 6.25 grams. So, if you've got a scale lying around, grab it and test that quarter you found in your change jar. If it's a little bit heavier, congratulations. You might just be holding onto a small fortune. Next, look for the silver shine. While regular 1965 quarters will look like your typical dull, coppery coin, the silver era ones will have that distinct, shiny, silvery luster that you'd expect from a coin made of silver. If your quarter gleams like a shiny new dime, there's a good chance it's worth a whole lot more than 25 cents. But here's the thing. Finding one of these silver era quarters is super rare. In fact, they're so rare that they're worth a lot more than just their silver content. The collectors, who are actively searching for these coins, are willing to pay top dollar for them. A well-preserved silver era 1965 Washington quarter can easily hit the market for anywhere from $10,000 to $1 million. Yes, you read that right, $1 million. All from a quarter. Insane, right? I know, it sounds too good to be true, but I've seen it happen. In fact, I had a personal experience a while ago when I was at a local flea market. There was this old guy selling a box of loose change. I nearly passed it up because, well, it just looked like a bunch of junk coins. But for some reason, I picked up a random 1965 quarter and tossed it into my bag. Didn't think much of it. Fast forward to a few months later, I'm sorting through my coins, as one does when you've got a slight obsession with old change, and I noticed the 1965 quarter looked a little shinier. So I weighed it. Sure enough, it was heavier than a normal quarter. I did a little digging, and guess what? It was one of those silver era coins. Now, I'm not saying I got $1 million for it yet, but that coin? It definitely added a nice little chunk to my savings. Moral of the story: you never know what hidden treasure might be lurking in that jar of change, so always double-check your quarters. You could be sitting on a gold mine, or in this case, a silver mine. So, there you have it, folks. The 1965 Washington $quarter coin is one to watch for if you're a coin collector, or if you just happen to be casually searching through your spare change. Don't let a potential $1 million coin slip through your fingers. But hey, don't just stop here. There are so many more coins out there that could be worth big money, and I'll be showing you how to spot them in future videos. If you want to stay on top of these rare coin finds, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a tip on coins worth cash. And hey, if you found a rare coin or have a story like mine, drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear all about your treasure hunts. Until next time, happy hunting, and remember, one man's pocket change is another man's gold mine.